Guys, there's a lot I want to get into today on tonight's show. As Marcus from the Goat Talk with Marcus podcast show is with us, the irony of a black head coach or former black coach suing the NFL for racism on the first day of Black History Month.
I did not take that into account.
I actually didn't even think about that either.
I didn't take that into account.
Is that irony did not escape me, and we'll get to that. We'll get to the Super Bowl. We'll get to a couple other things. But first, it's the end of an era. Okay? There's a lot of ups, lots of downs, some controversy. It's okay. Now there's uncertainty at the quarterback position, but the only thing that's certain is that this team will look totally different next year, Bert. Totally different. And of course, I'm talking about the Washington football team. As tomorrow, they will unveil their new name.
That's been leaked 5 times already.
Yep.
Yeah. And what's up, Ricky? And we'll talk about all that stuff. I mean, and there's some fucking guy named Tom Brady retired, whatever. Sports. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Stuff About Sports, presented by the Give Us a Shot Network. I am the Facebook felon Jerm. That is the prettier Corey Bert. And tonight we are joined yet again by the young sensation, the young phenom, Marcus from Goat Talk with Marcus. What's up, man?
Prodigy. Let's go.
Prodigy. Yeah, he's back. He's back.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I do
1.4.
You know what I didn't notice? I will say that I just noticed that my logo's right there. It wasn't there last time, so that's
no. We had to come and show love to the god. You know what I'm saying?
It's nice to be here. Fresh off a 1.4 episode going 1.4 thousand views.
Talk that shit.
It's nice. I do appreciate it. It's always fun with you guys, so it's nice to be here. Nice to be here.
Well, we're very happy to have you. The sports gods have blessed us. We actually had to cut the show down. There's been just today massive news with Brian Flores suing the pants off the NFL for racism in hiring, and I mean it's a 58-page document. We're not going to go into legal detail. None of us are lawyers. We'll go over the highlights and the funny parts about it, but. This just happened today. We'll just react to it. I'm sure as we deep dive through the week, me and Bert will have more to talk about next week when we actually have a better understanding of what exactly is happening. But we'll hit the highlights for you. We're going to talk about the New York Giants because Bert's New York Football Giants are back. Yeah.
Well, hopefully. We'll see. This kind of plays into what you just spoke about too. So we'll see if they chose the right Brian. Is what it comes down to.
Did you guys hear the sound effects?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm just making sure. Okay, so we'll get into all that. The first thing we will get into. So they're opening stuff. Ricky, open door policy, buddy. You want to come on the show anytime you want. You can come through. Let me know what happened with arch rivals. Frank Novick, what's up, man? Tough loss in the bucket of doom. Sorry about no. Frank Novick won the bucket of doom. It's him and Michael Simmons in the finals. JT and the Don.
Ooh, they both
thank
got
God.
booted?
Thank God they both got booted because I couldn't handle them. Hey, shout out to our guys. Hey, we will be on JT and the Don show on Thursday. Yeah. But having them win our fantasy football league this year,
one bucket of doom too. Oh.
I would have lost. I would have quit. I think I would have quit straight up. Trisha, what's up, girl? How you doing? So, guys, football came. Awesome conference. This is probably one of the best playoffs in a long time that we've had in terms of from beginning to the Super Bowl is going to be fantastic. The conference game, both conference games were fantastic. Divisional round, fantastic. The only duds were the wild card weekend, and that's because there was a bunch of teams in there that shouldn't have been there. But most importantly, the Chiefs lost. So let's react to the Bengals beating the Chiefs 27-24 in overtime. Marcus, what did you think of the game? Give us your overarching thoughts.
I mean, I joke with Justin and all these other guys sometimes off camera and through text message and stuff because I'm a baby, right? And being a baby, I don't get all the football history, right? Like Tom Brady's played football longer than I've been alive. But sometimes I say things and people don't listen. And I've been saying since week 17 that Joseph Lee Burrow of the Cincinnati Bengals is that dude. And he's done nothing but prove that he is that dude. I mean, you're in your first playoff game at home against the Raiders. Beautiful. Then what they do? They went to Tennessee, got sacked 9 times, didn't matter, won that game too. And you go to Arrowhead and you beat the Kansas City Chiefs. I hate to say I told you so. I told you so. You know, like it's just there's so much. It's like it's a breath of fresh air being right all the time. I've been right all the time. I've been right. It's so beautiful being right, and I haven't been wrong. Now, the one thing I will say is it does pain me even more as a Packers fan that the 2 teams in the Super Bowl are teams we beat this season. It just makes the loss a little bit more depressing to the 49ers last week. But Joseph Lee Burrow's that guy. And dare I say, he's the 3rd best young quarterback in the NFL today. So.
Before I let Bert go, I'm going to say you think that pains you. It pains me that the Bills would have beaten the Bengals. They would have beaten the Rams and the Niners. So trust me.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm glad the Chiefs won.
Yeah.
But the fact that the Bills lost, now the irony that the Chiefs lost that game, that overtime game in 13 seconds is funny.
13 seconds? Yeah.
That is funny. Go ahead, Bert.
It pains me that even in our text messages, you go through these fucking hypotheticals with the Bills, like, oh, they would have knocked them off. They were like, bro, they can't. Guess what? They're home. They can't. Like, we got to stop it right now, Jerm. Enough. But I will tell you, look, I think that everybody outside of Kansas City was rooting for the Bengals, and that's to be honest with you. I mean, you're talking about a team that was vying for their 3rd year in a row Super Bowl berth. And if we learned anything from individuals hating teams that win, it's that everybody's going to root against them. Personally, I was absolutely impressed, not necessarily just with Joe Cool and Joe Big Dick Burrow, as everybody calls him, noted.
Beautiful nickname, by the way.
Beautiful nickname. It just rolls off the tongue. That's what she said. So listen, but I'm more impressed with the fact that the team, look, going into the half, I think what the Bengals ended up scoring a touchdown with like a minute left in the half or so, but they were essentially down 21-3. I mean, there were a lot of people writing the Bengals off like, oh, this is going to be a shit show, let's call it. But we're going to talk about the way their defense came out that second half, showed up, kept Kansas City to not scoring anything until one of the final drives to tie it up. And then that was that. So, obviously the Bengals proved through and through. And I was just overall impressed with their defensive effort late in the game. And then, of course, you're taking rookie quarterback +1, if you will, because his rookie year, he only played half a season before getting hurt. Yeah. To be in that situation, to finish a title game like that too, I'm on the Bengals train right now. Let's go. Like, I'm dead serious. Like, look, as much as I think the Rams have the weapons to win, Cincinnati's going to take this.
I think.
Yeah, it's. Oh, so good. Good.
I feel like the other thing too is about the Bengals is this is probably the worst offensive line unit to make it to a Super Bowl probably ever. And the one thing I have been saying all week is win or lose, right? This offensive line sucks. And if you just get this offensive line next season to be average, like this isn't a one and done thing for the Bengals at all. Now, I'm not saying they're going to go to the Super Bowl next year, but like this isn't like one of those Cinderella flash in the pan type things where like, oh, they catch fire and then they never go back, i.e. the Green Bay Packers 12 years ago. Like this is a football team that if you get that offensive line to just go from being terrible to average, you've got a really dangerous thing on your hands, because this is a wide receiver core that's like more than just Jamar Chase. And I've been saying that the entire playoffs. Like I went into this Chiefs game, I was like, yeah, this is going to be a solid game for T. Higgins and a solid game for CJ Uzomah. Now, granted, Uzomah went out with an injury, but T. Higgins still had a good game. And he's had really good games all season because people are just going to focus on Jamar Chase. And Joe Burrow recognizes that. And then you get this guy named T. Higgins to just carve up defenses, and now you're stuck. So I think the Bengals are going to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, at this point, that's another reason why the Super Bowl is compelling, right? You have the Rams, who are basically the Yankees of the NFL. They bought all their players. It's LA, big city, bright lights. It's a manufactured roster. And then you have Cincinnati, who sucked
All
for many
rosters
years.
are manufactured. What are you fucking talking about?
They don't have a pick for like the next decade, right?
Okay,
Like,
all right. So
you know
I
what I
will
mean?
give you that they went for broke. Like it's
Right.
this
They
year
did.
or no
Yeah.
year.
And
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. But the
I don't think
Bengals
they have
did
a
it
first-round
through.
draft pick until 2024.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's nuts. So then,
And they'll probably get rid of it.
and they'll probably get rid of it because they're gonna have to. But the Bengals are the opposite, right? It's small market. It's we build through the draft. Nobody wants to come here. We're not a destination. It's like big. It's it's the franchise. Big city versus little city. Big market, small market, and people want to root for the little guy. I'm more happy that the Chiefs dynasty is over before it began. I've harkened back to the beginning of the season. Patrick Mahomes talking about going 20-0. The players on that team, Tyrann Mathieu, not 5, did the LeBron, not 5, not 6, not 7. They got 1 Super Bowl, and now it's over. The dynasty's over. They got to start over now, and it's hilarious. So
It is.
2 quick questions before we move on. I'll give one to each of you. Bert, did this loss say more about Joe Burrow or Patrick Mahomes?
I think this loss honestly said more about Patrick Mahomes. I'm going to go further, and not just Patrick Mahomes, but the entire offensive coaching staff of Kansas City too. I mean, how do you not show up and make those in-game adjustments? And I mean, look, this is a team that you had figured out in the first half, and you're going to come out the second and barely piss a drop. What's going on here? So
For sure.
You would think where Patrick Mahomes is, the money he's being paid, the contract he has, and the fact that he's been in these situations before, he'd be able to make something happen. Maybe we're giving him too much credit, but for me personally, I mean, when you put the two of them together, if it's just Mahomes versus Burrow, you would expect obviously Mahomes to make those reads a little bit better, but I mean, hey, it is what it is. So I think the loss says more about Mahomes, but I don't think that should take anything away from Burrow and the effort he gave.
Cameron Reardon, what's up, man? The Glazer family. Hey, I'm not going to count out the Glazer family. They can focus on bringing in some guys who can help cover and do the things that they got to do. Ricky says this is what should have seen last year if Burrow didn't get hurt. Burrow by fire over time. Chiefs never changed their game plan, losing out. I would actually say that the Chiefs got overconfident and changed their game plan.
Yeah.
Matt, what up, man? 30-day ban. I know that. They call me the Facebook felon for a reason. Shout out to you. Yeah, I am real. Thank you for noticing. So yeah, it says a lot about Patrick Mahomes because, guys, it's over to me. I don't, we may be sitting here in 10 years and Patrick Mahomes may be getting the Aaron Rodgers treatment. You got 1 Super Bowl and that's it. Next year really is the last year they could probably, if they were going to win it, where they actually, I think, would be favored because his cap hit's only $7 million. After that, guys, goes up to $36 million, then up to $43 million. This is the Seattle Seahawks all over again.
Yeah.
They had their nice contract. And then all of a sudden you can't afford to pay your defense, which is what got you there in the first place. You're going to start losing these people. And so, and then on top of it, people have now caught up. Bengals, clearly, right? Because they're in the Super Bowl now. Josh Allen and the Bills, who probably should have beaten them if it wasn't for some janky overtime rules and a little luck going their way. And again, they didn't start the season off hot, so it wasn't like they were the unbeatable Chiefs like they seemed to be last year. So the Chargers, I know they didn't make the playoffs, but they're coming. Their teams are coming. And so, especially in the AFC, Lamar Jackson will be back. If you're one of the Lamar Jackson from Italy. Okay. What up, man? Thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. That's awesome. Bert has been inside of a lot of Italians up there in New Jersey. So, in short, in his old life, he's happily married.
Yeah,
now,
my old life. Yeah,
in his old life. Yeah. So, Marcus, real quick for you.
Yep.
What's more likely, now that I've touched upon it, is the Chiefs? A dynasty, I think, universally is 3 straight titles, right? That connotes a dynasty, I think, in most people's definitions. So we'll stick with that. What's more likely? Patrick Mahomes will lead the Chiefs to a dynasty, or he will never win another Super Bowl again?
It's more likely he'll never win another Super Bowl again. You say next year might be the last year they're favored. I think this year was the last year they were going to be favored to win a Super Bowl. There's just too much. I mean, you look at obviously, obviously when you look at the Ravens, right, their season collapsed because of Lamar Jackson stuff and his injuries and things like that. So their season kind of went off to a not so good after the second half, right? Obviously, you have your Bills with Josh Allen. You've got the Chargers who are in their own division. There's the looming threat of possibly Aaron Rodgers going to the Broncos, and that becomes a thing, which I don't even think that Aaron Rodgers to the Broncos makes them a Super Bowl contender at all. But it'll make that division much more like there's just too much talent in the AFC at the quarterback position specifically, where I can look at the Kansas City Chiefs the way they're constructed and be like, yeah, they can make it to another Super Bowl or win another Super Bowl, primarily because their defense sucks. And I've been saying their defense sucks for the better part of a year and a half. I think from the moment I've started doing my show, I've said at least 1,000 times that the Chiefs defense sucks because they do. Now, they benefited a lot from not having to play a lot of strong offenses in the back half of their season. And that played a large part into how they got on that roll. But the one team that they struggled against and actually lost to in the back half of the season was the Cincinnati Bengals. And everybody told me I was crazy for betting against the Chiefs and the Bengals. But there's just too much. I mean, will they get to the playoffs? Of course, because they're still, I think, the heavyweights of their division. But when you're going to continuously have dates in the playoffs with Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson or Joe Burrow or potentially Justin Herbert, it's just too much. It's just too much. And this is going to end up becoming a conference for the next 10 years where like the team with the better defenses are going to win because all these quarterbacks are at the top, obviously. And all these quarterbacks in the AFC are going to end up being the top 10 quarterbacks in the league once all these older guys are gone. And we're already seeing them leave. They don't have the defense to stop Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, all in one playoff run. And then whoever's on the other side of the NFC. Yeah, I don't see they probably will win another Super Bowl. But if I had to bet on it, it's more likely that they don't than they win 3.
Yeah, that's a lot. All right, the other game in the NFC were the Rams. Matt Stafford's miraculous luck into beating these teams that he probably should be losing to continues all the way up to the Super Bowl. Guys, what was the driving force behind the Rams beating the Niners? Was it Matt Stafford in the offense or was it Aaron Donald in the defense?
I think it was both. I mean, you had both.
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
Give me 100% though. But if you're gonna force me into one, I'm gonna say it's Matt Stafford only because I'm tired of Jerm hating on Matt Stafford the entire time. I don't care if he had one of the best receivers in Detroit and couldn't get it done. Guess what? He's in a different spot now, and guess what? He's fucking killing it. He's killing it. Take the game from the week prior too. That last drive, I don't give a shit if one of the defenders fell down. Guess what? That's football. It doesn't matter in the least bit. If the Bills were able to stop someone for 13 seconds, they would have played this past weekend. Ifs, man, buts, man, we can argue it all day. But I will tell you, Matt Stafford is playing like he's been in playoff scenarios his whole fucking career. And the only time he's been in one is this year. So you have to give it up for Matt Stafford.
Mike says, imagine if the Lions had Matt Stafford, they would be elite. Yeah, if he was good. Go ahead, Marcus.
I don't like ifs. I like buts, especially big ones. But no, it's Matt Stafford. I mean, Matt Stafford's a legend. And I think the thing that's kind of been lost, it's against my religion as a Packers fan to be rooting for Matt Stafford. But you have to. Like you just got to, right? And you look at what he's done this postseason, right? Because a lot of people, and I'm going to assume that Jerm is in this cohort of NFL fans and football fans that just said that Matt Stafford is a loser. And he played for the Detroit Lions, which is the biggest poverty franchise ever. And look, sometimes your greatness can't overcome the incompetence of a front office, right? Like sometimes you just can't do that. And I told everybody, as soon as Matt Stafford gets out of Detroit and he gets to a better football team with a more competent front office and more competent understanding of what's going on in the game of football, he won a playoff game. He's won 3 playoff games, and he's got a shot to win one more at home, even though he's not technically the home team, which is just so stupid and confusing sometimes. But it's Matt Stafford. I mean, opening weekend, right? They blow out he has a solid performance in a blowout against the Cardinals, right? Then last weekend, his team, not Matt Stafford, his team almost cost him that football game, and he's still cool, calm, and collected and delivers the game-winning drive. So there's that one. And then it comes to this one against the 49ers. They're down 10 points, and they did to the 49ers what the 49ers did to them a couple weeks ago in week 18. It's Matt Stafford, bro. And Matt Stafford's always been in that bucket of football players that have a lot of talent and not a lot of recognition. Like, for me, this is beautiful because I've been rooting for Matt Stafford all season. I'd root for Joe Burrow all season. Now they're both in the Super Bowl, so I don't really care who walks out on top because it'll be one of my guys this season. And so it's like Sophie's choice for me, but it's Matt Stafford. This defense didn't get good until their game against the Cardinals. Like the defense didn't have one of those statement vintage LA Rams defensive games we're used to. And I said all season, if they can't do that, they're not winning a playoff game. And they put together 2 of them, and they might put together one more, but they're going up against Joe Cool over there, and it might not mean anything. But like, yeah, it's Matt Stafford. Like Matthew,
both of you work.
Whatever his middle name is, Stafford is that.
Matthew, I believe his middle name is mediocre. Both of you work. Both of you definitely work for liberal media. There's no way. Put it on the poll. Matt Stafford, a legend.
Well,
let me tell you something.
I said he was
Matt Stafford. Again, let's not act like Matt Stafford led this team to anything. Congratulations, Matt Stafford. You took the Rams as far as Jared Goff did. So you haven't done anything to me. You are a loser. The narrative, people, I believe we were on Marcus's show. Did this change the narrative about Matt Stafford? Not Marcus's show, Justin's show. Did this change the narrative of Matt Stafford? No, he is a loser. No, it shouldn't have. 1 year does not erase 12 years of being trash. You had 12 years to at least make the playoffs. You did it 3 times, and you lost every single one. How many Pro Bowls you been to? He
wasn't trash. The team was trash.
How many Pro Bowls he got, Marcus? I'll tell you, 1. He didn't even earn it.
I'll be honest with you. I don't care about Pro Bowls the same way I don't care about All-Star games, because they're popularity contests. That's not. You're pro. First of all, the Pro Bowl is not real football, and we talked about that before the show. Like, who cares? Who really watches the Pro Bowl? Outside of maybe the skills challenges, and like I only watch it for dodgeball. I like seeing football players play dodgeball.
Matt Stafford almost gave the game away against the Bucs. Again, I know Bert doesn't like ifs, ands, and buts, but if zero coverage and the guy doesn't fall down, they'd be at home. If the San Francisco 49ers, the guy's first name I can't pronounce, Tart, didn't drop what could have been the easiest interception of all time, because Matt Stafford does what Matt Stafford does, just throw it down the field and not near anybody except the defender, he would be sitting at home right now. So let's not act like Matt Stafford pulled off one of these great football memory things that, this magical run that they're going to make movies about. He's not Kurt Warner. So,
well, no, but it's not that it was magical. I think what's lost in all of the Detroit Lions nonsense is that Matt Stafford still consistently, despite being on a dumpster fire of a football team, put together really nice seasons, like year in and year out. And
just ones that didn't end up in the playoffs, though. But even though we saw, and you want to talk about the franchises, Joe Burrow,
I think
the Bengals are the closest thing to the Lions. We called them the Bungles. In his second year, and is really his first year because he was injured all last year, took his team to the Super Bowl. So I don't want to hear about Matt Stafford and all his failures for 12 years. You only got to the play. Joe Burrow has more playoff wins, damn near tied the same amount of playoff wins as Matt Stafford has just this year. It's egregious. It's egregious.
You're not wrong. I'm not disagreeing with you. I think one of the things that I've always said about Matt Stafford, and really football players in general, and especially quarterbacks, is I think that sometimes, like as a quarterback, right, you kind of get like the quarterback wins thing is always the argument people pull, and I don't know if you can hold one single player's impact on a football team the way you would any given one single player's impact on a basketball team, like, because it's harder it is harder in the NFL for one guy to impact the entire game and the entire like trajectory of a football team. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, because we've seen all-time greats do it all the time. Like it happens, but Matt Stafford's an all-time great. I'm not saying he is. I just think that Matt Stafford, he's just in a good position, and I love Matt Stafford. I'm not going to stop loving Matt Stafford.
He's not even an all-now great. This guy sat there and tried to say he's an all-time great. Rate all the sports all-star games. NHL, NBA, MLB, NFL. I'd probably agree with that order.
Yeah.
I'd probably agree with that.
I actually prefer
right.
the MLB All-Star game a little bit more than the NBA All-Star game.
I prefer the MLB skills. Like, they need to come up with more skills, because I think the home run derby of all the skills things is more exciting than like the 3-point contest or the shootouts or anything else. But baseball needs to add more skills, I think, to their All-Star weekend. Okay. KFC.
Yep.
Tom Brady retired. We'll talk about it. If you haven't lived under a rock, there's nothing to talk about. Tom Brady's the GOAT. Nobody's ever going to come close. He's not going to get caught. He has more Super Bowl titles than every NFL franchise. There's nothing to say. There's no deep dive into Tom Brady retiring. You all know about him. But Pats fans are in a tizzy, Bert, complaining that Tom Brady didn't mention the Pats at all in his retirement post. Even though I'm pretty sure when he left the New England Patriots, he gave them a goodbye. Like, he gave them a really deep goodbye. And so I don't understand, but they're hurt because he didn't he used the Bucks picture of him in a Bucks jersey, blah, blah, blah. KFC from Barstool Sports tweeted, and I quote, "What a bunch of fucking assholes you are. That man owes you nothing," all caps. "He's given you everything," all caps. "All your memories, all your fun, all your identities, and you're making a huge fuss over not being mentioned in an Instagram post. Embarrassing. You should be embarrassed." All right, Bert, give it to him.
Yo, that's just like basically one of his starting tweets, but he came out with another tweet too. Got people out here like Taylor Swift fans looking for clues, saying that the picture he posted is when he beat the Pats in New England. Like really, gotta be. And then after that,
it was snowing. Hey, it was snowing. How many snow games he had? I'm just saying.
But he's saying, like, when Tom Brady announced his retirement, every single Patriots fan should have said congrats, thank you, and best of luck to the rest with the rest of your life. And instead, all they're doing is, what about where's all the credit we deserve? He said, scumbags, all of you. And I'm going to be completely honest with you. He's 100% correct. And here's why. I'll break it down even simpler, because he still had, 1 year or 2 years left with the Bucks. He should thank the organization he is actively leaving. If you had the 2-year contract and after this year, that was it. Okay, part my ways. Thank you so much for the game of football. Thank you for the Pats for 20 years. Thank you for Tampa Bay for 2 years. End of discussion. He already thanked New England in its fucking entirety. He basically blew everybody on the way out the door. Thank you to the fans. Took out pages or like different ads and shit like that. He owes you nothing. And to KFC's point, he gave you everything. You don't have the right to be mad. You don't.
No.
You know why? Because you had 6 fucking parades to go to in the last 20 years. The man brought you to a Super Bowl for 50% of the time he played with you. You've got to be shitting me. You have to be shitting me. The amount of Patriots merchandise you could have bought every fucking year alone, and you think you deserve a thank you because he's retiring from the game of football, which, by the way, he could have played arguably for another 5 fucking years. No, I'm 100% with KFC. Anybody who's a Patriot fan out there who feels as though they're owed a thank you from a professional athlete who went out there and worked, like, that's his job. He put his body on the line, which I know, like, quarterbacks are not supposed to hit him, but still, he went out there, he worked for you, he got you championships. What do you do aside from sit on your fat fucking ass, drink beer and pop and eat popcorn and like just stuff your face while you're making comments about things he should have did better when he was out on the field? He doesn't owe you shit. Enjoy what he gave you and shut the fuck up. Send him a congrats post. Send him a comment, but like to sit here and be butthurt about it, you've got to be shitting me. Honestly, the only thing you could be mad about is if he came out and said, I've really enjoyed this last 2 years in Tampa and it was way better than the 20 prior in New England.
I wish you would have.
Fuck you.
I wish you would have did that.
All New England fans are trash. And only if he called you out specifically is the only reason you can get mad. Like, you've got to be shitting me. Like, if I had Eli Manning bring me 2 Super Bowls, and even then, if he were to retire and not thank anybody, I'd be like, he's the GOAT, man. He's the best for Giant fans. Like, this is great. This is ridiculous. The best thing about Twitter gives everybody an opinion. The worst thing about Twitter gives everybody an opinion.
All you Pats fans, this is your new theme song. All of you are losers now. Okay, enough of you complaining, crying. There's no need for it. Marcus, you got anything for the Pats fans out there?
I don't have anything for the Pats fans. What I do want to just address, and this is something that I have been saying since Sunday, since I guess the rumors first started. Right?
Oh yeah, fuck you, Adam Schefter, by the way.
Schefter's the worst.
Well, there's that too. If Aaron Rodgers goes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, there's this belief that does something for his GOAT case, which number one doesn't have one. And number
Yeah.
two, it does more harm than good. If if Aaron Rodgers goes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and doesn't win a Super Bowl after Tom Brady just left and won a Super Bowl, that does more harm than good for Aaron for whatever GOAT debate you want to look. First of all, Aaron Rodgers isn't in a GOAT debate because there's not a GOAT debate because Tom Brady has been the greatest quarterback of all time, bar none, since like 6 years ago. And the only thing he had left to prove was that he can win a Super Bowl without Bill Belichick, and he did it his first year in Tampa. And if he wanted to retire then, he could have, and nobody could blame him because he really just played this season for the sense of like, I just need to get these records now. Like I need to break Drew Brees' records and some of these. That's really it. Because he was like, oh, I don't have the competitive drive. No, you've got it. You're just at the top of all the leaderboards at the arcade, and there's nothing left to play for. If Aaron Rodgers goes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, not only will that be the worst thing ever for Aaron Rodgers, that'd be the worst thing ever for like the Buccaneers. Because why would you do that?
I think he's smarter than that, though. I don't think people keep speculating. I don't think he's
going to stay in Green Bay.
But I don't know about that, but I don't think he's dumb enough to try to fill shoes that he can't fill. Honestly, if he's smart, he'd go to a team that can use, obviously.
San Francisco is the only team
San Fran would be a good one, to be honest.
San Fran or Green Bay. If he can't get to San Fran, then there's nowhere he could go that would be a better situation than Green Bay where he's at now, other than San Fran to me. I don't think him going to Denver puts them there.
I don't even think that if you look at all the teams that need a quarterback or like that have a quarterback but could use the upgrade, I don't know if they're, and this isn't my Packer bias. I think this is just, if you look at the landscape, I don't think that there's a team more equipped to win a Super Bowl right now. You know what I mean? Like maybe, okay, I think the only team outside of the Packers where I could realistically see him winning a Super Bowl right now is the Steelers, because you've got the coach and the talent on the defense is there. They just suck this season, but like it's really nothing to turn it around. The wide receiver core is not the best, but it's there. They have the running back and Najee Harris. Like you look at Denver, there's still a lot of youth and a lot of inexperience. And Aaron Rodgers going to Denver doesn't just write them into the Super Bowl. It's not the Tom Brady effect where all the talent is already there and the coaches like, okay, yeah, they've got our old OC, but that doesn't really, you know what I mean? Like that's not, and in that division,
but what you say,
you have a Justin Herbert and a Pat Mahomes. That's not a shoe-in for a Super Bowl for Aaron Rodgers.
Well, yeah, but what you say about why he would fit on the Steelers can be said about the Niners, and that's an upgraded team who have already competed, who obviously are going to trade Jimmy Garoppolo. So,
of course, the only thing about the Niners is that that's a competitive division. Like, if you're talking about a situation like there's really
I don't think so.
Outside of,
I don't think so. Yeah. Who are they competing with?
It's not that competitive. It's just the games are always like.
Oh no, I get it, but
you get Aaron Rodgers, and now those games obviously become a little bit more stratified. So I do see your point, and
it won't be as competitive as it would in the AFC West.
It wouldn't be as competitive in the AFC West. Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what Aaron Rodgers does. But yeah, Pats fans who suck. Shout out to KFC.
They do.
Anything to stick it to
obnoxious fan base in sports, and I've been saying that for a long time.
All right, guys. This show was supposed to be tomorrow, so that's why this topic is here, because me and Bert would have reacted to what seemingly. Thank you, Joe Theismann, for at least leaking it. But he is backpedaling it a little bit. He tweeted one of the Football Insiders and said that was just his opinion, that it should be the Commanders, and that he thought people would like it. But if you listen to the interview he did on CBS Sports Radio, it sounded like he was telling people this is what it was, and he knows that people aren't going to like it, but hopefully they will learn to like it. And we'll find out tomorrow.
Outside of FedEx, there's a camera shot on Twitter. I think the Score posted it or something, of a camera outside of FedEx Field, zooming into the arena or into the stadium, and Commanders is on the wall. It's the name. This is a terrible name.
They can't even have a name announcement right. This organization is the
and
worst.
It was leaked like a month or so ago. Like someone caught a picture of the paper when they were having the meeting about it.
Aaron Rodgers not a free agent, and the Packers are releasing him or trading him. Probably trading him.
They're not going to release him. They're going to trade him.
Yeah.
I don't think
so that makes more sense that it would be to San Fran, right? Just give them Jimmy G. We'll give you Aaron
Look,
Rodgers.
anything's better than Jordan Love, so I'll take it. I mean, I'll
No.
take Marcus Mariota over Jordan Love, quite honestly.
Mitch Trubisky, man, I'm telling you.
So I'd also
the
take
Commanders
over Jordan Love.
The Commanders is an awful name for many reasons. One, it sounds like the default name of like a Madden team when you create Madden and everybody's like a 50 rating. And but it also is like I get it. You're in DC. There's a lot of commanders there. You know, it's I understand it, but that's lame, bro. That's lazy. With all of the choices, Red Hogs had to be the answer there. The offensive line that the Super Bowl winning Washington racial slurs were when they won it was the Hogs.
Yeah.
Red Hogs can be tied into airplanes and stuff. I was stationed on Barksdale Air Force Base where we had A-10 Wart Hogs. Like you can make that, you could do that. Doesn't have to be a pig logo if you wanted it to be, but you could have flipped it. You could have made it. You could have done something truly creative. Instead, you gave us the Commanders, bro.
Yeah.
And so
I would have taken Red Wolves, Red Tails.
Red Wolves, Red Tails.
Yeah.
Red Tails would have been awesome.
Over the Commanders. Red Tails would have been awesome too.
Yeah, I just feel they went lazy with it. Like, oh hey, we're in Washington D.C. rep. Let's hey, we got a bunch of army and shit. Oh, commanders, it was generals taken. Like it's just not the lieutenants, like or the captains or anything like that. Let's just go the easy route. So all right, fine, fuck it, let's go commanders. Like it is what it is. It's just I don't know. It's super lazy. Can't wait to see their boring ass design, even though I know it was like semi-leaked, but I would love to see it officially, but it's just going to be trash.
It's the exact
now
same
here's the
design,
thing
really.
A lot of players I think it's just upgraded. It's like an upgraded burgundy, like an upgraded I know there's
the
I know there's
outlines
an
are
all
a
black
little bit different.
Yeah, apparently the current players really like it. I would never, Nike's making it, so I'm not going to doubt that the uniforms weren't going to look good at least. But from everything I've read, a lot of the former players and some of the current players actually hate the name, but everybody loves the uniforms. So it sucks. It sucks that, and of course, pregnant with the legislators. That's funny. What happened to the Admirals? I don't even like the Admirals, but I would 100% rather them be the Admirals than the Commanders. The Commanders for sure. It's Dan Snyder. Of course, he would pick the one name that nobody wants, and he would fuck it up. Everybody knew it, and maybe it's a stick it to FedEx for making him change his name in the first place. That obviously he didn't want to change it, and so maybe he's just picking the worst name he could possibly think of to just stick it to FedEx, which would be right up Dan Snyder's alley. I would hate to think that an owner would do that to his own team, but it's Dan Snyder. You can't, he tried to pimp out his cheerleaders. Yeah, so we'll find out. We'll find out tomorrow. Joe Theismann's he's backtracking. I think the most damning evidence is the copyright website that the NFL uses to log in all of the teams' names in their websites, the domain stuff, the registry has the Commanders in it and no other names. So I think that's the most damning evidence. It's also a shame, like if it's not going to be the Hogs, the fact that you're doing it on Groundhog's Day, that's where everybody got excited. But of course, Dan Snyder's just sticking it to us. All right, Bert, it's time to talk about your New York Football Giants.
Yeah. I mean, look, we have every reason to be excited given what these two have just done in Buffalo. However, given everything that's just recently come out with Brian Flores, I mean, the second Brian Flores was fired in Miami, I said, let's take him in New York, especially the New York, like particularly the New York Giants. And now knowing everything that basically, happened when like a decision was made without Flores even having a final interview, like shit certainly went down. But I have to try to be optimistic as a Giant fan. So we'll see. Look, I will say one thing about the new GM. Love him. Think he's a great guy. He's all business and hoping to go from there. From hearing rumors about Daboll? Is that how you say it? Daboll?
Daboll.
Meatball. I'm just going to call him Meatball. Until he starts winning games. He's going to be Meatball. That's it.
Yeah.
I hope he's the answer. The problem I have is from a perception standpoint, everybody's going to have him be like, oh, you know what? He's here. We're going to be just like the Bills. And that's not going to be the case. He had tools in Buffalo. He had Josh Allen. He had great offensive weapons. And the Giants just ain't there yet. I'd be lucky if he's able to make a suitable quarterback out of Daniel Jones, but also wouldn't hate
I
the
think he
fact that
will.
they
I
went
think
out
he will.
and got another quarterback too. So look, we'll see. I'm not going to hold my breath because I felt this way about Joe Judge being hired too. So I was like, all right, let's go. New, fresh set of eyes. Let's see what happens. And then here we are 2 years later, but let's see what happens. Hopefully this GM can certainly make the change and Daboll gets it done. But honestly, I would have rather Brian Flores. I would have taken experience winning NFL head coach. So
for sure. The thing about we both we were texting each other during the course of the season. There was things that Daniel Jones did, and I was like, if they can just keep doing that, he would be fine. The Joe Judge, and I love. Hey, you're fighting coaches, you're fighting people. Joe Judge acted the way you would. He was basically Dan Campbell without the coaching, because Dan Campbell just doesn't have the talent. You could tell he could coach. You could tell he was in a lot of games. He just didn't have the talent to win, and that'll fix itself because he's built a culture there. Joe Judge was starting to build a culture there. The players at first loved it. It just he couldn't coach. Like it just nothing was working. And a lot of these guys have to go through the experience one or two times before they finally get it. And maybe in a few years, Josh McDaniels is about to get that opportunity in Vegas after he failed in Denver and he went back to being an OC. And I have all the confidence in the world that he'll be a pretty good coach in Oakland. That team is a lot better than what he got in Denver, and so we'll see what happens there. But the Daboll's a good hire. I will caution you; he likes to get fancy, a little too fancy sometimes, but the results speak for themselves. The Bills' offense was a top 5 offense in the league, and it had a lot to do with Brian Daboll. What you should be excited about is Joe Shine, your GM, who was responsible for talking Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane into drafting and moving up for Josh Allen in the first place. So in terms of your drafting, that is what will improve. So yeah, maybe not next year. You might see the same. The Giants may be a little bit more competitive. I don't expect them to win a lot of games, but what you'll see in the next year or two is the drafting will be better. All that stuff will fix itself. I do think Daniel Jones. I don't know what Daniel Jones is, Bert. I don't know.
This has to be. I thought this past season was a make or break season. If they plan on keeping him the starter, this season will be. It should be make or break. Plain and simple.
Daniel Jones, Danny Dimes' season this year actually made me believe more that he could be the franchise quarterback for the Giants because it reminded me, it's like an extended version of Josh Allen's rookie year. The highs that he did were really high. I mean, he busted out like a 60-yard run and nobody was they just wouldn't let him use his athleticism. They forced him into a pocket that, how do you have a Swiss Army knife and you only use the knife? Use other things. That's what they're there for. And Joe Judge refused to do that with him. And I think you're going to see that now. You didn't have a running game. Saquon Barkley will be back. Hopefully you add something to that and limit some of what Saquon
just need him
does.
to fucking stay healthy all season. That's it. I mean, adding someone else in the backfield who can carry the workload too can certainly help.
Yeah. So Marcus, you got anything for the New York Giants stealing all the Buffalo Bills' people?
I tend to keep my New York Giants commentary to a minimum. I tend to keep all NFC East conversation to a minimum unless I'm crapping on the Dallas Cowboys. What I will say, though, is in the vein of stealing people from the Buffalo Bills, someone needs to make a call about trade for Mitchell Trubisky. That's all.
There you go. Go ahead. Mitch, listen, Mitch did really well as the backup. He learned a lot. His limited time, he looked really good. I will not hold anything against. I would like to see him get an opportunity. His coach was Matt Nagy, and we already bring him to. I would love it. I'd like to see him get a chance to compete.
I wouldn't mind a Jordan Love and a first round pick trade for that. You know what I mean? Because we don't use our first round picks well anyway. So
So we'll see, Dave. The trend, though, is what I'm liking is the Patriots got Ziegler and McDaniels, the Raiders got Ziegler and McDaniels from the Patriots. These tandems of hiring directors of personnel or assistant GMs as GMs, and then taking the offensive or defensive coordinator as a pairing as a coach it seems to be like one of the new trends. The one thing Giants fans should be happy about is at least they're getting somebody from a winning culture like that'll help them in the long run. And I think Brian Daboll will fit very well in New York. He does it, he likes to talk. He didn't talk a lot because Sean McDermott doesn't like to talk a lot. So I think you'll see more of his personality in New York, and I think it'll be good. I think it'll be good for the Giants. Okay. Brian Flores. Let's get to it, guys. This is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Brian Flores suing the NFL for racism in hiring. It's a 58-page document. Go read it on your own. But basically, this popped off because Bill Belichick accidentally texted Brian Flores when he meant to text Brian Daboll, congratulating him for getting the Giants job and telling him how close he was to getting 2 other jobs that Brian Flores also happened to interview for. The problem was Bill texted that before Flores had his interview with the Giants. So obviously the Giants made their decision on who they were going to bring in as offensive coordinator before the interview. And then you complicate that with accusations that Stephen Ross wanted Brian Flores to tank, offered him $100,000 to lose games. His interview with the Denver Broncos, where Elway and company showed up late and drunk, obviously not taking the interview seriously.
Incredibly hungover, which seems like a John Elway thing to do. Like the man looks
100%.
like he smells like liquor. It happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, give it to me. Give somebody jump in there and give me their thoughts about that.
I mean, it's not good overall. I honestly think, look, if you're willing to come out publicly and risk ever being hired again for doing the one thing that you've made a career of doing, and it's a thing that many people are fortunate to do just for leisure on weekends to coach their sports like their kids' teams, you're doing it for millions of dollars at a professional level. So the point I'm trying to get to here is if you're willing to come out and publicly shame teams that could potentially give you a job and shame he didn't so much shame the league because he knows it's not necessarily a league thing, it's an owner thing, but if you're willing to put it out there, you better have strong evidence. To me, he has strong evidence. The only thing he needed was Bill Belichick's text message. How are you going to have a final interview, but then you get a text from another head coach, a well-respected one in the league, that says, hey, congrats on the job. Oh, my bad. That's another Brian. That's the team you're interviewing with is going to hire. Like that to me is just like, all right. And that's after he got a text from Giants personnel saying, really hope you win this effing thing, he said. I don't know why I censored myself from cursing all night, but yeah, it's weird. So, but yeah, and on top of that, I mean, it started with his time with the Dolphins too, with Stephen Ross basically being like, hey, I want $100,000 for, for tanking games. And he's such a stand-up guy. He's like, no, I'm going to win. They start winning. I mean, he spent 2 years there and he's got like a just under 500 record with them. I think it was 24-25. And yeah, I mean, he avoided, I mean, Steve, look, if there's not an investigation into Stephen Ross and the ownership of the Dolphins, and something's aloof here, because I mean, there was even accusations of Flores leaving meetings on a yacht that would have been considered tampering. So like he knows the rules. He's a stand-up guy. And I think he was hoping that this was going to pay off. Unfortunately, I mean, you see this a lot, and you two can certainly speak of this. And we saw this when the Cowboys went for their open position, ultimately hired Mike McCarthy too. Is the Rooney Rule working? No, it's not.
No,
Should there even be a rule like this? No, there shouldn't, because you have qualified head coaches or coaches of color that are interviewing for jobs and aren't getting them. And this is the prime fucking example. A winning coach after 2 seasons with a shitbag team gets fired for no reason. They should have had the Broncos, the Giants, anybody else who interviewed him, giving him an offer to come to their team right away. Plain and simple. That should have been end of discussion. He should have had multiple offers and he should have had to pick. But instead, like, this shit comes out, and guess what? He's got a case. So either hopefully he stays and he gets a head coaching job somewhere, but at the same point, he gets rewarded for being discriminated against. I mean, outwardly so. The evidence is certainly there. And I'm sure as we dive into it, as Jerm said, we'll uncover other things that came out too, man. But this is huge.
Real quick, Marcus, I went to go look at your thing. The name is definitely the Commanders. There's a banner literally on FedEx Field. And now I'm looking at the black jersey. I told you they were going to have an all black uniform. leaks of the black jersey from Nike, a replica, which looks all right. I mean, it looks pretty good. And then some T-shirts and the new W logo, and everything is just, there's a big Capitol building and Washington Monument DC T-shirt I'm looking at. So Dan Snyder, you fucking idiot. That's awful. The gear looks cool. And no matter what their name was going to be, the gear and the uniforms were going to look good. The name sucks. And I can't believe it. Bill Belichick in the middle of a shitstorm. Yeah, I mean, again, that's
shocking, right?
Here's the thing, though. All of this speaks to a deeper thing here. We've seen it with, like, nobody's under the disillusion that there's not racism within the higher ranks of the NFL, right? Like, these owners, it's a bunch of old rich white guys. They probably don't like a lot of black people. They probably don't like, other than owning teams that have black players, they probably don't talk to black people a lot. They probably don't understand the cultures. They probably don't understand anything. And this just speaks to more of that. It's a good old boys club. And the Brian Daboll hiring without interviewing, and this is not to say that black coaches should get first dibs on hirings, but look at a situation like Houston. Josh McCown, who has never coached a day in his life, as other than a volunteer college coach who doesn't get paid, he didn't even call plays, is a finalist for the Houston Texans job, got shot to the front of the line. Like, it's shit like that. You know what I mean? So yeah, Joe Shine is from Buffalo and he wanted Daboll to be his coach. Great. I get that. But so this example in terms of who got hired and why may be off, but the process has happened over and over and over again. And so there will be a lot of people rolling their eyes here. Like, yeah, the GM wanted their guy. The problem is the GM is always going to want the white guy that he knows, because the black people aren't going to get the opportunities. The Rooney Rule should not exist, but it has to exist, because black coaches, even though if it's a token interview, won't get interviewed at all.
Yeah.
Why is Eric Bieniemy not a head coach somewhere when he's led the number one offense in the league for the last 4 years?
Yeah.
It's a joke. There's a wall. There's a wall that's always existed, right?
Yeah. There's got to be inclusion in the process. And I mean, you've heard the expression, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And the networking is strong. Well, guess what? If there's not individuals of color that are even at the table to network, it's always going to be who you know is going to be like for like. So yeah, I mean, Joe Shine being, who he is and being a white guy, and obviously working with Daboll, who's also happens to be white. I mean, they're both at the table and he's just going to pull them in. If you don't put individuals, dissimilar of you in those positions, who are obviously qualified, like, they're never going to get those opportunities. And yet, so there has to be inclusion in the process 100%. But when you have this that comes out that, yes, I understand you wanted your guy, but, don't make a decision before meeting everyone. Like, that to me is just like, why don't you go in and hear them out? I mean, worst case scenario is like, you interview somebody for a head coaching job. Like, if he doesn't land somewhere else, maybe you offer him another position. I don't know. And I don't know how he's building the team or the coaching staff or anything like that. But it's sad to see. And unfortunately, it's like, this isn't obviously the first time this has happened with in this type of situation with any other black head coaches or coaches that are going for head coaching positions. And we're going to see it again. It's just, something needs to change. So there needs to be something more to that. And the fact that Brian Flores not only faced this with the Giants, but also, with the Broncos, and then of course his time with the Dolphins too, just not being favorable. It sucks.
Yeah. The NFL doesn't, this is the last thing the NFL wants on its plate. And it sucks because all it does is just make me laugh. And we've talked about this on previous shows in the past, Bert, where you got the slogans on the helmets. The slogans are in the end zone. After everything you've done to Colin Kaepernick, you got these commercials. You brought in Jay-Z. You got an all-black halftime show. And all of it doesn't mean shit. It's just placation, right? It's just, hey, we're going to give you this, and hopefully you're stupid enough to buy it. But we're still going to be this racist entity that we've always been, because we only care about the black athlete when they're scoring touchdowns for us. That's how they operate. And that's how they've always operated. And they give us these little morsels to make us think that things are changing when nothing actually is changing. Because the majority of the people don't care. They want Jay-Z. They want, Dr. Dre at halftime. They put these slogans in the end zone to make us feel good. They take off the racist owner of the Washington football team's name off the lower bowl and replace it with a black player. Like, it actually matters. You know, baseball tried to do this. Hey, you know what? Nobody cares about the Negro League, so we'll just add them to the Hall of Fame and all the record books, even though none of the records actually truly count. But it'll be something that we do. Like these big entities do these things, and nobody really cares. It's like the Super Bowl will be next week, and guess what? People really won't be talking about this because what's going to happen? The Giants are going to pay a fine, and they'll probably lose some draft picks, and then that'll be the end of it. And then we'll move on to the next thing. And so hopefully something changes. Shout out to Brian Flores, because he probably will never coach again, because it's already hard enough for a black coach to get a job. It's even harder for them to get a second job. They have, Marvin Lewis, Jim Caldwell still haven't had a second chance to even get a job. So last year, Marvin Lewis went on 3 head coaching interviews, one with the Dallas Cowboys, and they all took him out to dinner, and they all didn't hire him because it's a token thing, and they never were interested in hiring him, and it's a shame. It's a real shame.
I spent my entire senior year talking about stuff like this. This is why I graduated high school. I did an entire project my senior year, 15-page paper presentation.
Talk that shit. Talk that shit, Marcus.
About how racist the NFL is, and whether it's a coach not getting hired, whether it's an OC or a coordinator not getting hired, whether it's a GM not getting hired. The one thing everybody says is, well, maybe this will inspire a black kid to become an owner one day. First of all, it's not that simple, because not only is the economy of the country not set up for a black person to come across that amount of money, you have to think about a lot of these owners. A lot of these owners put these football teams and sports teams in general in their will. Like, this isn't like it's you don't see guys just like, oh yeah, you know what, I'm gonna buy a football team, and like that's not how it happens. It's a lot of these teams are family heirlooms, literally. Like, when Jerry Jones dies, Stephen Jones will probably become the owner of the Dallas Cowboys. Like that's how it works. And even if it's not that, it's an old white man's club, and white men don't want black people in their clubs. So that's not the answer either. You look across the NFL and the NBA, which are both like at least 70% black, and I think the NBA is closer to 75, or the NFL I think is closer to 75. The only guy in all of this that has a stake of ownership in any of these teams is Michael Jordan. And the only reason why is because it's Michael Jordan. Like, if Michael Jordan were just some random black dude that had a whole bunch of money, he wouldn't have an ownership stake in the Charlotte Hornets. And he doesn't even have, if I'm not mistaken, he doesn't even have a major ownership stake in the Charlotte Hornets. He's just like the face of everything because he's Michael Jordan. You don't props to Brian Flores, because like you said, like he's not coaching anywhere else again unless it's like a high school football team somewhere, because no football team is going to want to hire the guy that said the NFL was racist. It's the reason why Colin Kaepernick still doesn't have a job, because no one wants to hire the guy that says that the country is racist. So he's got a lot of evidence. He was missing the smoking gun. He got the smoking gun with Bill Belichick's text messages. So the only thing now is that you hope he doesn't settle. That's how a lot of these things happen. Is they get all this, there's all this long drawn out litigation. We forget about it because other stuff happens, Super Bowl, draft, all this stuff. And this isn't going to be over in a week. This is going to take time. The public's going to forget about it. And then hopefully not, but in a couple years from now, when all this stuff is over, they'll be like, oh yeah, well, Brian Flores settled with X amount of money and that's it. Like, this isn't, and the Rooney Rule sucks. It really does. And it's unfortunate that the only way that black coaches or black people can get an interview for coaching is so that teams can say, oh yeah, well, we interviewed a minority in the injury
you're checking a box.
I was just going to say the same thing. Like, yeah, it sucks because when you're go ahead.
And you don't even know what they're doing. You could literally, I'm sitting at a table right now. I can have someone come sit at this chair across from me and just sit here for 15 minutes. I'm like, all right, yeah, time's up, going about your day. Like, we don't even know. So it's just, it sucks. And a black person becoming the owner isn't the answer. And like, that's the go-to. It's not that easy. It's going to take a lot more than a black person becoming an owner. It's literally going to, it's the same thing as when we talk about racism in our everyday lives. Like, the crazy thing is people are going to say, oh, the system's broken. No, it's not. The system's doing what it was designed to do. And if you want to fix it, you got to tear it down and build it back up again. But the NFL's not going to do that. And this is going to be the first time we hear a story of a black coach, the last time we hear a story of a black coach not getting hired or being told to do something they don't want to do, or being fired because of a power struggle. No, it's not a power struggle.
Or speaking up. Bert, what were you going to say?
Right, or speaking up. It happens all the time.
No, I mean, you two kind of certainly said. I mean, what sucks about the Rooney Rules, I mean, designed for inclusion, but what it turned into is just checking a box, and individuals and candidates of color who are going for an interview now 50% is like, do I really have a shot at this, or am I just here so that they don't get in trouble? Which is shit to think about. But I mean, that's essentially what the effect of it was. There's just got to be a different way. And to Marcus's point, I mean, the system is designed what it was supposed to do. So blow it up, start from scratch, do something else. The problem is it is all white ownership of all 32 teams. I'm not saying that as though like, oh, well, they actively don't want people of color in the organization. I don't think that's it. But the way they've set it up is it's not a fair playing field. Like, when you point to the Shine example and the fact that like he wants to bring his guy in. Well, you know what? He only knows like the only staff that he had were predominantly white. So of course, I mean, the likelihood of that is going to be more white people coming in. So I mean, there's got to be another way for more inclusion. What gets me is in this particular case, he is a winning coach. And a damn good coach.
Yeah.
And a lot of the players looked up to him too. So for this to happen to him in particular, and I'm not saying that anybody who had a losing record like didn't deserve to be hired too. It's just it was easier for teams to, I guess, point to the fact that they weren't as successful. But that's what I think amplifies this, in the fact that you have a coach that has a good or a winning coach in the past 2 seasons for teams that arguably had nothing, and that the fact that nobody is touching him is an absolute issue. Like he honestly should have been hired at least 2 weeks ago by someone, and it's damn near alarming. So something needs to happen. To Marcus's point, blow it up, start from scratch, do something else, but definitely fix it.
Mike says the answer could be the XFL. Brian Flores, coach of the Houston Roughnecks. Let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of breaking news here, guys. It appears that Jim Harbaugh is on his way to Minnesota tomorrow to interview and accept a job offer to be the next Vikings head coach. Anybody have any quick reactions to that?
Man, stock that Walmart full of Dockers.
I expected it. I think if it wasn't Las Vegas, it was going to be Minnesota. So
I like the fit. I think Jim Harbaugh and Kirk Cousins will turn that thing around, or at least make it. Mike Zimmer, I never was in love with him as a head coach anyway. Jim Harbaugh is a winner. And a lot of people will hate on him for what happened at Michigan, but I was going to say franchise, but that school, that program is a lot better than it was when he got there. So, in that vein, it's a success. But he always wanted to come back to the NFL. He did. And now he's going to get that opportunity with Minnesota. And honestly, I think I would much rather have the Minnesota job than the Oakland or the Las Vegas job. So hopefully he makes it work.
Jim has been a winner everywhere he's went. He's literally turned mediocre programs into winning programs everywhere he's gone, and they've all sucked when he's left. So,
all right, Sports Mount Rushmore. We did a post earlier in the week where we said when Adam Schefter ruined Tom Brady's
retirement announcement,
Sports Mount Rushmore, where in American sports, Tom Brady, Babe Ruth, Wayne Gretzky, Michael Jordan. There was some debate whether Babe Ruth should be on there.
Nope.
Bert doesn't think so. That's what prompted this segment.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Bert, kick us off. Give us your Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm very familiar because you really can't argue Tom Brady in the football spot, right? I mean, he is the GOAT. For me, basketball is certainly Michael Jordan, and then you have the great one in hockey with Wayne Gretzky. There aren't really a lot of arguments you can make around those two in particular. I mean, you might be able to make the Kobe or Michael argument for basketball, but I don't think so. For me, baseball doesn't deserve a spot. And I know boss man Mike Powers is probably gonna have a fucking heart attack when he hears this, but for me, it's tough to pick one individual baseball player as the greatest of all time at baseball, because no matter who you put up there, someone's gonna throw an argument out there. Babe Ruth, best player of all time before black people could play in the league. I mean, Like how are you even going to hold him to a higher standard when they literally weren't allowing other athletes who are arguably better than him to play with him? So for me, and even if you think the current day baseball, there's really no one who I can throw up in the greatest spot, which I know as a Yankee fan is tough because I mean instantly you would think Derek Jeter, but no, I mean you have to be real too. So I'm wiping baseball out there in my last spot. So I thought,
all right. Well, before Bert goes, I just want everybody to know, for the record, Bert from the Stuff About Sports podcast said Babe Ruth is overrated. All right, go ahead, Bert.
So I was like, all right, well, who's another athlete that has just dominated their game in sport to where even if individuals aren't a fan of their sport, they know that sport because of that individual and they will watch that sport because of that individual. So I'm going with Tiger Woods, who dominated golf, who brought golf to where it is now. And I'll argue that until I am out of breath. And
100%.
who still to this day, if he picks up a club, not are just fans of him following him around. He could be in last place and about to be eliminated, not even to play on the final day, and he'd still have the largest crowd there. But other professional golfers are just drooling at the opportunity to learn from this man. He is the GOAT when it comes down to golf. Not so much driving, but definitely golf. So I mean, he rounds out my Mount Rushmore, plain and simple.
So you have Tom Brady, Tiger Woods,
Tiger
Michael
Woods,
Jordan.
Wayne Gretzky, Michael Jordan. Yep.
Now, so when you said this topic, I said, okay, it has to resonate with me. And I went, okay, we're talking about dominance.
Mm-hmm.
Who were the most dominant? I didn't break it down by sport, even though it ended up that way.
Okay.
Wayne Gretzky, by far, probably the most dominant of any professional athlete. The problem is he plays hockey. Not a lot of Americans understand. But when you deep dive into the things he's accomplished in his numbers, he is by far the most dominant athlete in American sports, major American sports. So Wayne Gretzky's in there. Michael Jordan is on there. I don't care. All you LeBron guys, shut up. You know, all you other people, just shut up. It's Michael Jordan. 6 for 6 for 6. It's the only argument I need, Sean. Tiger Woods is on that list. Tiger Woods is definitely on the list for the reasons Bert said. So I'm glad he said him because I'd agreed. And my last one, Serena Williams. Serena Williams is on my Mount Rushmore of American sports. Nobody dominated tennis like she has, men or women's. Not only that, she also has the Tiger Woods effect where she brought it to pop culture. Yes, Pete Sampras and Andre Agassi and all these guys in the 90s made tennis popular. Tennis was popular then. Like they got commercials and things like that, but nobody has taken it to where Serena has. So Serena, Tiger, Tom, MJ.
Nice.
Marcus?
I have the exact same one. And I thought I'd have to come on here and sell you guys on the Serena Williams thing. But so Serena Williams, I think I don't, and again, I'm a baby, so there's not much I haven't.
When you said that you never witnessed NFL without Tom Brady, I was disgusted.
That hit me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. Like we can probably go back to the tape, and when he
I know.
We can go back to the tape. Like you can probably see my facial expression, be like, "Oh fuck, I'm old." Like Jesus.
Yeah, Tom Brady.
No, it's an indictment on us, not you. You're good. You're good.
Yeah. Tom Brady
is like, who's Drew Bledsoe? Who is that guy? What's going on?
No, I know who these guys are. I've never witnessed them with my eye. But we were talking about it on Justin's show on Monday. We were like, what's the first Super Bowl that you guys remember? And they were like, oh, I think Brian Boster said like Titans Rams, and then Justin was talking about Aikman and the Aikman Cow, those Super Bowls, and I was like, oh, well, let's see. I think I said like Steelers Cardinals, and they were like, holy fuck. I was like, yeah, I'm not that.
Oh Jesus.
No,
oh,
but yeah, Tom Brady, Wayne Gretzky, Tiger Woods. I love Tiger Woods. I think Tiger Woods is great, and Serena Williams. She was a part of the project that I did my senior year. I think that one of the things that people don't like about Serena Williams is that she's a woman. If we're being honest,
I mean, the sport certainly I don't been think receptive to her in a lot of her changes.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a sport too. It's like they had their clothing regulations and everything like that she helped change too. So I mean, she is the GOAT, man.
Serena Williams can
remember
play
the
tennis
2 times that Eli.
and...
Mike says you remember the 2 times Eli beat Brady. Yeah. Hey, shout out to Eli Manning.
A news station in New York, when they broke the news about Tom Brady, they said Tom Brady, who lost 2 of the Super Bowls in his 22-year career, retired. Bengals.
Yeah.
The one thing we know for sure is that that Tom Brady has never beaten the Washington Commanders, and he never will. Okay. All right, bucket of doom time, guys.
Let's go.
This is the last pick until next NFL season. Shout out to everybody who did the playoff eliminator challenge. Shout out to JT and the Don, who did not move on to the finals, even though they had a nice crisp run to the conference title weekend. We have Michael Simmons and Frank Novick in the final drawing. So I definitely randomized it. Frank Novick, you're up first. And I'm going to shake it. There's 2 helmets in there. Frank, your Super Bowl pick is the Los Angeles Rams, which means Michael Simmons has the Cincinnati Bengals in the Super Bowl. The winner going to get $50 from us. We're going to give a bucket of goods. I believe a Google Nest or a Google Home device will be in there. Some swag from the network, some fast break coffee, and a bunch of other goodies. So shout out to you guys. Hope may the best person win. And selfishly, I'm rooting for the Bengals, but if the Rams win, that'll be cool for our guy Frank. Let's see. Let's update some polls real quick.
Earlier asked me if I drink fast break coffee, and I was confused. I didn't say anything. So I know what is fast break coffee.
Fast break coffee is the coffee sponsored that sponsors the Give Us a Shot network. So head on over to www.fastbreakcoffee.com. Get yourself a blend. We drink it all the time. I drank a whole pot of it today by myself. Yeah,
that is aggressive.
It was super aggressive. Oh my god, I drink coffee like it's my job. Yeah, it's delicious. It's delicious coffee. So go check it out. Support the people that support us. All right, let's update some polls real fast. Let me pull them up here. And oops. Let's see what we got.
Brandon Ingram got ejected for yelling after a dunk.
Hey, Daryl Morey, trade Ben Simmons for Brandon Ingram. He's the missing piece. Guys, is tailgating what sports are all about? No. 54% of the audience said yes. I mean, how do you not like a good tailgate? We used to go to Philly games and just tailgate. I never even walk inside of the link. So shout out to the tailgate. Is Josh Allen the white Cam Newton, or is he better? 93% of the audience said that he is better. Is hiring someone named Matt Eberflus even trying? Chicago Bears hiring Matt Eberflus. Yes, you heard that right. Matt Eberflus. Who is that? I have no idea. Who knows football better, Mina Kimes or Jeff Garcia? Coming off the heels of Jeff Garcia being a complete douchebag, saying that Mina Kimes doesn't know football and she shouldn't be allowed to talk sports. Is that guy? 80% said Mina Kimes knows football better. Does Dan Quinn know something that we don't? Dan Quinn quit doing his head coaching interviews to stay the defensive coordinator of the Dallas Cowboys. Some may say he knows something that we don't. Mike McCarthy only has a 3-game window before Dan Quinn takes over that job. We will see. Does Joe Burrow carry himself like a full-fledged gang member? Joe Burrow is the man. 100%. 85% of the audience. Come on, man. Yeah, see? And that's the other hidden part about Brian Flores. He probably should have tanked for that $100K per game, because if the Dolphins tanked, they probably would have got Joe Burrow, or they definitely would have gotten Joe Burrow.
They tried to trade up for him.
Well, he should have tanked. That's what I'm saying. Should have took the Mels. Does one good game erase an entire season of mid from Russell Westbrook? Russell Westbrook had an amazing game a couple days ago, and everybody's saying, see, we told you he was good. Russell Westbrook,
and they also lost that game too.
And they did lose the game, which is even funnier. But everybody was on Twitter was hyping Russell Westbrook up because he finally had a good game with the Lakers. Russell Westbrook, give me a break. Bert, this has never happened before. 100% of the audience said no. Russell Westbrook's the Matt Stafford of the NBA, and they both play in LA. Should Adam Schefter be forced to wear clown face forever on ESPN for prematurely retiring Tom Brady? 88% of the audience said yes. What a fucking doof.
Mhm.
What a doof.
Yeah.
How dare you? Bert said it earlier. You let Tom Brady make that call. You let him do it the way he wants. Not you, Adam Schefter. You fucking doof. All right. Raiders hiring Josh McDaniels as head coach. Is that a good move? Yes, we like this move. 64% of the audience said yes. Barry Bonds didn't make the Hall of Fame, guys. We all know this. It's a sham. It's a joke. But should a team sign Barry Bonds for one day so he can play one game to renew his Hall of Fame eligibility? And 85% of the audience said yes. I don't know if that can happen. I don't know if that works that way, but I hope they do it because that would be awesome. Is Patrick Mahomes throwing an interception that ends the Chiefs season in 13 seconds poetic justice? 83% of the audience said yes. And let's see. Does this one season erase 12 years of Matt Stafford being infuriatingly mediocre? 67% of the audience said no. Thank God. There is justice in the world.
Guys.
Is the Pro Bowl a real football game? 86. Marcus said no earlier. 86% of the audience agrees with you. Is the best part about the Chiefs losing the fact that we don't have to see Jackson Mahomes dancing on TikTok at the Super Bowl? 95% of the audience said yes.
I actually saw a clip on Twitter. Jackson Mahomes was on a mechanical bull with a girl, and someone captured it and said, "The Chiefs lost me, Jackson Mahomes Street." The best thing I've seen all week.
No.
Yeah, that's awesome. NFL coaches should wear jerseys, or NFL coaches wearing jerseys on the sideline like baseball managers. Cool or lame? 70% of you are lame. They voted lame. I think they should do it. Coaches should wear jerseys. Not only should coaches wear jerseys, guys, coaches should be in charge of overtime. The coaches should be allowed to kick off in overtime, and that will determine who wins. Tom Brady not mentioning Bill Belichick. This is the last one. Tom Brady not mentioning Bill Belichick or the Patriots at all in his retirement post. Funny or hilarious? 60% of the audience said hilarious. Speaking of overtime, the cut and choose method that we talked about is actually gaining a lot of steam as the new overtime rule. For those who don't know, cut and choose basically is the after the coin toss, the team who wins the coin toss chooses where the ball is placed, and then the team that doesn't win the coin toss gets to choose who gets the ball at the placed area. So at that point, if you're a team that's really good on defense, you trust your defense to make the stop, and if you make the stop, you win. And there's no other possession. There's no switching of possessions. You choose what possession you want to kind of win the game on. I like cut and choose. I think that's pretty cool. I think I would prefer a 12-minute fifth quarter, but I get people's crying about player safety and all that stuff, and you kind of have to roll through that. Bert, who gets your game ball?
Tom Brady. Low hanging fruit there, but I mean, shit, 22-year career, 7 rings. I mean, literally, I said it before, 50% of his playing career ended up being in a Super Bowl, and the last one winning it with a brand new team at the home stadium. Couldn't have been more poetic. Honestly, hell of a career. So he's got to get my game ball. Not that he needs one. He probably has a whole fucking trophy room full of them.
For sure. Marcus.
The 1.4 thousand people that watched the AFC Championship preview.
Talk that shit, Marcus.
Yeah, buddy.
It's my game ball.
Go talk with Marcus on YouTube at GTP Marcus on Instagram. Go support our guy. We love to support the people that support us. Big accomplishment. We were on that show, so I mean, stuff about sports represented came through. So you know what I mean. So we're gonna pop bottles and do all that shit and take a little credit for that. But the credit really goes to you, man. You put out a good product. So shout out to you.
I appreciate it.
You know what you're doing, and that's a big thing. My game ball is going to go to Becky Hammon, first WNBA coach to get a salary of $1 million for the Las Vegas Aces. Tide, things are a changing. Annual salary of a WNBA player is around $120,000. That needs to change, but I think the fact that the coach is bringing that type of money, you're eclipsing a big number there for a sport that's kind of struggled bringing in money. We could do a whole show about what the WNBA needs to do. They need to lower the rim to 8 feet. You already play with a smaller ball. You already play with a shorter 3-point line. I think the next step is to lower the rim. That way you get more exciting plays at the rim, more dunks, things of that nature. I think that's the next evolution for WNBA to make it a more exciting thing to get some viewers. But other than that, shout out to her. I believe she's also I think part of that is also because she's part GM or a GM and the coach or something along those lines. I don't think
she was already like the assistant GM or something, and then she ended
up. I knew she wasn't just the coach. I knew she had some type of front office some type of front office influence with the team. But shout out to her. That's a big deal. Shout out to Tom Brady. Fuck you, Dan Snyder. You're a piece of shit. It's funny that the Dolphins were the ones to ruin Tom Brady beat up on the Dolphins. Shout out to Corey from the Divide. Beat up that moribund franchise for 22 years or however long he's been in the league. And they decide to come and take a shit on his retirement cake with dropping this news. So shout out to the Miami Dolphins for trying to ruin Tom Brady's retirement ceremony. Thank you, everybody who watched. Thank you, everybody who commented. Please like, share, subscribe to us on YouTube at the Give Us a Shot Network. Follow us on Instagram at Stuff About Sports. Follow my guy, Marcus, at GTP Marcus. And for Bert and Marcus, man, we'll check you guys out next week.